What's up, critters? It's me, the kitty cat E.
Meow.
I hope you're all doing well. I just wanted to come on here and talk about something that I feel like isn't talked about or understood enough, and just tell some of my own stories. So I'm going to be talking about BPD in the workplace. Relationships with customers, coworkers. I guess I'm probably going to touch on chronic illness in the workplace as well, because if you don't know, I have fibromyalgia, chronic migraines, all sorts of health issues. I guess it would be important to say also I have a condition called cyclic vomiting syndrome, and for me it's triggered really bad from anxiety. So if I am like anxious or just feeling like just the normal amount of pressure of having and keeping a job, it will make me literally throw up my guts all day. At my last job, my health issues had been like declining for a long time, and it kind of just like came to a breaking point because I couldn't manage my anxiety. So I would literally be in the bathroom at work like half the time that I'm there, just throwing my guts up, or I would have to call out because I would wake up in the morning and not be able to stop throwing up already. I was like so happy that we had to wear masks because I could not brush my teeth at all if I woke up and was super nauseous, which most days I was, almost every day. So that was my last job. I haven't worked for over a year now. I just feel like it's important going into everything else. I feel like that does like make a difference. My experience having BPD and trying to manage it while working a job, I found it extremely difficult, almost even impossible. And it's super embarrassing because I feel like the main thing that made it so hard was the management of my relationships, whether that be my customers or coworkers, higher ups, whatever, because I already have a very hard time regulating my emotions and not acting out on said emotions. And also, usually my coworkers were my only friends. I know it sounds pretty sad and pathetic, it probably is, but I just haven't been able to meet that many people as an adult, like other than through my jobs. So, sometimes I would hang out with people outside of work, but for the most part, like, those were my relationships. Other than my family, those were my limited relationships. And it was not always smooth, girl, let me tell you. So I will start with my second job. My first job was at Urban Outfitters, but I only worked there for, a couple months. And then I got a job at the Nordstrom E-Bar as a barista. And there was a lot going on with me during that time, but I was going to this psychiatrist who was extremely corrupt, and it was basically like just walking in and placing an order for the meds that I want, which as an addict, that is not a good thing. Okay, it's not good. So things really started to spiral when I was on Adderall, and the only way I could like chill out from the Adderall was by taking Valium, and Valium is the one thing that will keep me from throwing up every single time. But I can't get it now because I'm poor. It's so fucked. If I took how much I was prescribed, I would be totally fine because I do have ADHD. But I took a lot more than I should have been taking almost every day, just because I felt so stressed out and pressured and just overwhelmed that I felt like it was the only way that I could get through it. I don't think it was actually helping though. I think it was probably making things worse. But I would get in like, it's so embarrassing. I would get in like arguments and like literal like yelling fights with certain coworkers. There were certain people that like I just couldn't get along with. And I have always been someone who needs a lot of different accommodations at my jobs. And that job, it wrecked me. It totally wrecked me. I needed things like access to water at any time, extra breaks sometimes just if I absolutely needed, and I needed a very specific schedule because I just wouldn't have been able to do it. It was so stressful and so physically intensive that I had to work the like opening morning shift. I already felt like embarrassed a little bit because I did get like extra privileges and I didn't always have to do as much as everybody else, which is not a good feeling, honestly. It makes me feel embarrassed, kind of ashamed, and like guilty because obviously by me being there, other people are gonna have to pick up for the work that I just couldn't do. That was horrible, but I was very lucky to have extremely kind, understanding, beautiful souls of women as my bosses. I worked there for 4 years, and that was the case almost the entire time. But then this man who I helped train as a barista, he was an intern before, and we already didn't really get along that much when he was an intern, but I found out that my manager that I loved so much was leaving, and this man that I already didn't like was becoming our manager. So shit went downhill real quick when he started. He made it so I couldn't have my water bottle near me. Like I would literally have to go all the way to the back just to get water, and mind you, I drink a lot of water, I have to. And he would try to tell me that my like bathroom breaks are excessive or whatever, even though I have a doctor's note explaining why I have to go to the bathroom so much. Like, trust, I don't want to be spending a bunch of my time at work in the bathroom or just in my life. Like, I have to spend a lot of time in the bathroom and I don't fucking want to, obviously. He was only there for, I think, 2.5 weeks before I just could not handle it. He was so rude to me. He was way nicer to everyone else, but he just basically tore down all of the accommodations that I have had over the years, and he just made it impossible for me to do my job. Literally, I would be crying, like sobbing at work all the time because of how much he singled me out and targeted me. Well, I put in my 2 weeks, and then I came up with a doctor's note saying I can't be there for my last 2 weeks or whatever. So thank God for that. I don't believe in God, but you know. So yeah, I got out of there as soon as I could, and still to this day, it's very upsetting to me because that was like the best job I ever had. I got paid a lot. It was just good. It was good. Other than the drama sometimes, and my addiction was really starting to pick up a lot. So for quite a while after that job, I was unemployed for, I don't know, several months. I don't remember the exact time. It felt like a long time, but I'm not sure how long it actually was. It doesn't matter. So yeah, my next job was at a pizza place, and it was kind of a horrible job. Like, everyone there was miserable, and already when I started, I felt like people didn't like me, which made me super paranoid, as it does. But I was like really in the thick of my addiction, so I would show up hella drunk, like hella drunk, and then I would drink more in the bathrooms during my shift. I would be on the computer taking fucking call-in orders. I couldn't like see the screen on the computer because I was so fucked up. I always felt like people didn't know, but looking back, like, they had to have known. So it makes sense that people didn't really like me and didn't really make an effort to get to know me or be nice to me. There was like one person that I liked and got along with, but I already feel like people target me. So being there where I was just making a horrible impression on people was not good, because people did not like me, and it was very obvious. So again, unemployed for a long ass time.
Being an alcoholic, being a drug addict, you know.
But then in 2018, I had to move in with my dad, and obviously I had to work, but I had lost my apartment. So yeah, I had to live with my dad, and it was great for my addiction issues because I didn't want to be using in his apartment. You know, it would feel kind of weird because he knows. So I was still like drinking a little bit, but not nearly as much as before. So then I got a job at a pizza slash gelato slash coffee place slash like some Indian food. And oh my God, that job,
it was a fucking nightmare.
So I started, and it was just me and the manager of the store, who had been there for quite a while, and he was weird and kind of creepy towards me, but I didn't hate being around him that much. It could have definitely been worse. But again, my health issues were running rampant, and I was extremely overworked because we could not keep an employee to save our lives. Like, looking back, it's so obvious as to why, but at the time, I didn't really have any other choice, and I was not very confident because I had gaps in my resume. And yeah, we would hire people, and they would literally work like once or twice, and then they would never show up again. Yeah, and I became a key holder like super fast because there was nobody else to do it, obviously. But my manager that I worked with, he had to work like all the time. I can only imagine what his overtime was, because he was literally always there because nobody else could be there. But that job was kind of hard on my body too. Just the stress and anxiety and the panic. I would get there early to start setting everything up because I opened and I set everything up by myself. So I would get there early and start doing everything as early as possible so that I'm not as stressed out. But again, like spending a ton of time in the bathroom, throwing up a lot, dealing with chronic pain, having migraines all the time. I tried my best not to call out very much, but it was inevitable. I was not doing very well health-wise, so that's just what happened. I stayed at that job for probably 6 months, and I got not an apartment, I was renting a room with some people. It was a really nice, beautiful room, and the area that I was in was so cute, so fun, so convenient. I loved it. But I obviously, now that I have to pay rent, I needed a job. So I stayed at that job, the pizza, gelato, espresso, Indian food. I stayed at that job for longer than I should have. But I finally, once I got moved into my new place, started applying for different jobs. And I applied for a bakery that I was very familiar with because every other place that I had worked at in the past sells their pastries. So when I started, I had kind of a leg up on everybody because I already knew all of the pastries. The only thing I really had to learn was the bread, which, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of different bread. But that job was amazing for a while. I felt pretty comfortable with my coworkers, my managers, the leads, and I was able to have the schedule that I needed. And it was just, for the most part, it was a pretty chill job. But when it was busy, it was kind of intense because I would get all stressed out and all flustered, and I would need to go to the bathroom, throw up a little bit, or I would need to go to the walk-in freezer and just try to calm down, because I would literally be like hot from how busy it was and how angry I was. So that job, I started finding it very difficult to maintain kindness to customers, patience with customers, and same with my coworkers. Not them having the same problem, but me not being able to find the good things about them and not feeling targeted by them. It was a lot. I just could not regulate my emotions whatsoever. And things that, looking back in hindsight, there were very small issues that did not need to make me cry and make me yell, and my reaction to things was very intense for the situations in question. So I started having a lot of interpersonal struggles specifically with one of the leads that started. He came from a different store and transferred to our store. And oh my God, he was so rude. Always. To me, he was like nice to everybody else and not to me. He would always call me out and put like extra shit on me that other people did not get. And it pissed me the fuck off, obviously, because I had a few coworkers that I got along with really well, and a couple of the leads, like we got along so well. I really loved them, and they never made me feel like bad or ashamed or like I'm not doing enough or whatever, because I was doing enough. Spoiler. So eventually it got worse and worse, my health, my physical health specifically. And I guess, yeah, my mental illness got a lot worse as my health issues declined more and more. And it got to the point where I was kind of having to call out a lot because I would just wake up and be so sick to my stomach to the point where I cannot stop crying. Also, I was having such bad migraines at the time. It felt like my migraines were worse than they've ever been, and it was horrible. I was calling out a lot, and for the first time, I started getting written up for calling out and not getting along with people. I really would just like have breakdowns at work because I would feel so overwhelmed and unsupported and just feeling like I'm not doing enough, even though it's not like I didn't want to be doing enough. You know, I would give anything to be the best person on the team, you know? Like, I always wanted to be good at all of my jobs. Obviously, it was shitty because I never felt that unreliable. I felt unreliable, but not to that extent. Finally, COVID happened, and I have a compromised immune system, so I got laid off, which was horrible, but also kind of good because I was able to be going to therapy appointments and doctor's appointments, obviously via telehealth, but I was able to start working on my health issues and mental health issues and just looking into everything to find out what the root of everything was. It was so much better on me not having the pressure and anxiety and, you know, feeling like a failure, feeling like a loser, feeling unreliable, feeling how shitty I was feeling when I was at work. So I stayed laid off, and then when I was told to come back to work, I freaked out inside. Like, I was so anxious and terrified, and it made everything come back tenfold. So that was great. And since I did not have seniority anymore, I couldn't have the schedule that I needed, and it just threw me out of whack, like totally. And it was super depressing, just feeling like a failure to the highest extent that I ever had, because I just could not function. My pain, my migraines, my vomiting, my anxiety attacks, my issues within interpersonal relationships, my attendance, it all got really bad. And it finally got to the point where that lead, that guy that I did not like, I won't say I hated him, but I definitely didn't like him. I don't even remember what he said, but he said that I did something that I did not do. Like, I know for a fact I did not do this. And because of that, on top of the other times I got written up, I got fucking fired. So that was horrible. I was freaking out, knowing that, like, I am not really well enough to do any job, but I have rent to pay and bills to pay. So better find a fucking job, and quick. So I got hired at my last job at the Indian restaurant / coffee shop. So that was the one I talked about at the beginning. So I'm not gonna touch on that, but I will say, because I don't think I said this at the beginning, I eventually got put on medical leave by my boss because I just could not keep it together. And as soon as I got to the end of my medical leave, I filed for disability and had to relocate out of the state and stay with family because it was very clear to me that I cannot just keep doing this and trying to work and trying to heal at the same time, because it just did not work for me. And I haven't worked for over a year. It has been a great opportunity to go to doctors, specialists, psychiatrists, therapists, DBT groups, whatever I need to do to really work on these things. And I really hope that there is going to be a time in the future where I am able to have a job. I will say this, I will never work in like food service or retail, any job that I have to stand on my feet all day. I can't do it because the pain, so bad. And I would like to find a remote job. That way I will have the flexibility to work on myself and work on my health and go to the bathroom if I need to go to the bathroom. Lay down and take a nap if I need to do that. Like, I would love to be able to work and feel good about myself at the same time. So I know this was a very long video. This shit's gonna take me forever to edit, so please, if you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you hated it, leave a dislike. Other than that, leave me a comment and subscribe if you want to. Bye, guys.